Hello everybody, good evening and welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news. How you're doing? Look, get lost. Garnacho, basically. That's where we're going to start off with. We've also got new talks with Baleba this week, and these talks involve directly with Brighton. We'll talk about that as well. Man United and how much they can spend, a little bit coming in about us using our credit facility. Obviously, we spoke about the goalkeeper a little bit earlier as well. But we're going to start off. I mean, look, there's no... I mean, it's the 8 o'clock show. Drive it. Get at the wheel. You drive it. But I will just put some fuel in the tank for you because here we go from Fabrizio Romano. Chelsea, Garnacho, that's what he wants. Garnacho's message to Manchester United: I want Chelsea or I stay here and I don't play football for 6 to 12 months. Mate, if that is true, and look, I'm just reading this from an aggregator that apparently Romano has said tonight on DAZN Football that Garnacho's message to Manchester United is I want Chelsea or I stay here and I don't play football for 6 to 12 months. Please, 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 as the best football experiment ever, Manchester United, make him sit and not play football for 12 months. I would love it. You know what? It would be worth not finishing 5th. I'll take 6th and Garnacho acting Billy Big Bollocks sat there not playing for 12 months. I will love this. What a spoiled little shit. I mean, oh my God. It's just how to destroy your reputation with one of the biggest clubs in the world, according to Garnacho. I mean, he is an absolute buffoon, isn't he? What a shame that a young man has been advised so badly. I mean, this is a... Look, you know, there's stories I could tell. I'm not going to do it because I don't air my dirty laundry in the public. And, I believe in, trust, respect and relationships. But, oh my God, mate. I mean... What a fool. What an absolute fool. What an absolute disappointment you really are. You look up to people like Ronaldo and Messi and you're behaving like an EastEnders character. Just unbelievable. I mean, part of me thinks that's going to come out as a fake quote. I mean, if I was Garnacho, I'd be furious with Romano for saying that. But I know Romano, so I know it will have been said. It's incredible. So look, I'll read it again. Just in, Garnacho's message to Manchester United, according to Fabrizio Romano: I want Chelsea or I stay here and I don't play football for 6 to 12 months. You know what? If I was Amorim, I'd say, get me a meeting with him tomorrow, right? And I'd get him in the room and I'd sit him down and I'd go, how you doing? How's your summer been? Worn any nice football shirts? I'm joking with you. Sit down. Just one thing, really. I really just want you to say... I just want you to... I've read this from Fabrizio that you're apparently saying that if we don't sell you to Chelsea, you're going to sit on your arse for 6 to 12 months. Is that true? Yeah. Can you just say it to me? If you don't sell me to Chelsea, I'm going to sit on my arse for 6 to 12 months. Ha! Get out, you twat! Oh my God! Oh, I thought I'd heard it all. Yo, go on, jog on. Literally jog on. Get round Carrington and do some jogging, mate, because you've got 12 months worth. See you later. Oh, you know what? I'd absolutely laugh my head off. People are saying where you're seeing it. Look, they better have it right. They haven't deleted it yet. United exclusive. Fabrizio Romano via DAZN Football. I want Chelsea or I stay here and I don't play for 6 to 12 months. I mean, you know what? Man United are going to let him go to Chelsea. Of course they are. But I just think... And I would let him go to Chelsea. I'm not interested in him staying around Man United. But my point is, why would you put that message out there? Nobody's spoken about you for a month. We've been on the tour. It's all been about Mbermo, Cunha, Sesko. Even people like Onana and Rasmus get more talk than you. And they might be leaving. No one's talking about you, mate. You think that if you don't go to Chelsea and you stay here for 6 to 12 months, the papers are going to be talking about you. They're not talking about you now. No one's talking about you. You had to wear a Villa shirt to get people to talk about you. Nobody's talking about you. So, just, I don't get it. I don't get it. And the reason you're not going to Chelsea, can I just put you into the real world, the grown-up world? The reason you're not going to Chelsea at the moment is because Chelsea won't value you at even half of your fucking price. You know, they won't even offer what you're worth. So I think that, look, I saw something earlier today that I think it might have come from, it was from Fabrizio. It says Chelsea and Man United are in direct contact, but there's still a difference in valuation. Chelsea want to pay 30 million, and Man United start from 50. We can also reveal that Chelsea have offered the chance to include some players as part of the negotiations. Nicholas Jackson and Kunku have been offered, as well as Disasi and Vega. The answer from Manchester United, they want money. They want money to invest in different positions rather than going for players that they don't want. So at the end of the day, mate, we're not stopping you going to Chelsea. We just don't want Chelsea's shit, and we also want a fair price. So the truth of the matter is, if Chelsea don't give us what we want, it will be their fault that you sat there for 6 to 12 months, not ours, because in football, no matter how badly you behave, you are talented. You are a talented player. That's why we want at least 40 million quid, because you actually are a good player. I agree with you on that. You are talented. You're trying to sell yourself as a Poundland Anthony Elanga. You're actually talented and you're only just 21. So you're worth at least 40 million, mate. And we don't want players. So it's 40 million or nothing. And you can say, if you don't sell me to Chelsea and I'm not going to play for 12 months, we'll take it up with bloody Chelsea because they're the ones who don't value you, mate. Easy work. So run it through to the end of August. What's it matter to us? You've had no pre-season anyway. I just find it hilarious that he thinks we're going to give a shit if he sat on his arse for 12 months. I'd get you back. I just find it. I find it all very, very strange. I find it very, 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 very strange. And if I was a 21-year-old who is not even the finished article, I wouldn't be making threats about sitting on my arse for 12 months and missing a World Cup. It just sat. You know what? If I'm being completely honest, I just think he's been very badly advised again. You need a bit of experience. Like, that's what it is. It's really disappointing. I don't know what happens when he comes to Man United in the future, but I will never change my opinion that I think he's an immensely talented player, but so was a few other players at Manchester United, and they didn't fulfill that talent as well. So I just think it's just the behaviour since that Europa League final has been appalling. And I mean, we don't actually, the thing that makes me laugh is we don't actually have to sell you to Chelsea. We could say we're not going to sell you to Chelsea because Chelsea are a rival in the top four. We're actually happy for you to go to Chelsea. We just want money. We want the money. So, yeah, I don't know. I just think it's laughable. But it did cheer me up a little bit because I just can't believe that Fabrizio is putting it out there unless Garnacho's getting it out to him. I want to go to Chelsea, and if you don't let me go, I won't play for 12 months. It is just spoilt behaviour, isn't it? It's like, if you don't let me have a bag of sweets, I'll scream and scream and scream and scream until you do. Grow up. Anyway, we'll move on. Actually, I've got a few comments to come back to before we move on. Rajaf says Garnacho is fully responsible for these decisions, but the real villains are his advisors who are ruining his career. Exactly. It's a waste. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me, but I always liked Garnacho. I always backed Garnacho. And as a player, I really believe there's a good player there. But this summer, I've apologised on a couple of occasions because I've stuck up for him all the time, as some of you. And I have put my hand up and say, all those people, like Ben Foster and everyone who was saying he's got an attitude problem, you were all right. And I wish you weren't, but you were all right. And he's ruining his career on that. The ego is out of control. It's terrible. And as I say, how can you admire Ronaldo and then not look at his career? It's mad. As an Argentinian, it pisses me off that Garnacho acts like this. He's a wasted talent. Exactly, Tara. He's got time to turn it around, but grow up. I mean, what you should be doing is, in a way, and he won't do it, is apologising to United fans who've actually had your back. And, I was all right after the Europa League final. I mean, I knew the morning after the Europa League final that he was leaving Man United, by the way. I'm not going to tell you how I knew, but Romano didn't tweet it for 3 hours. Go back and watch the 10 o'clock show. So, but ever since that final, it's just gone downhill. And also, I'd have been okay with him leaving after the final. I'd have gone, you know what? Off you go. You don't get on with Amorim. Sir Alex sold bloody Van Nistelrooy. He sold Roy Keane. He sold David Beckham. It happens. It happens in football. We're mature enough to know that sometimes it doesn't work out. I don't know whether I'd say all the best at Chelsea, but crack on. But now, it's just ruined everything. And, you know, you think about that goal against Everton and some of the good things. I remember him coming on in the FA Cup final when we lost to Man City, and he was brilliant in the last 20 minutes. He was the only spark, but, you know, it's sad. It's sad, really. What about Garnacho and Nkunku swap, says Lucas? We don't need him. We don't need another attacker now. We've got what we need. I'm just disappointed. He had so much potential. Go join Freedom Fighter, says Pete Jones. Chelsea mugged us off with Mount and Sancho. I'd much rather him rot for 12 months and missing World Cup than sell him for 30 million to them, says Matthew. We can't sell him for 30 million. We can't sell him for 35. It's got to be 40 million minimum with add-ons and sell-ons. Is it true that Rasmus has been leaking things to you, says Alfie? It's only true on the bitter people on social media who have to justify their hate by making stuff up. I mean, mate, look, I'll answer any question. It's 8 o'clock. There are some strange people out there who, maybe they hate us because we're good. I don't know. But it happens all the time. They make lies up. I'm more than happy to do an interview with anybody and talk about this, but my only loyalty is to you lot. 3 years ago, Luke Shaw was leaking with the team. That was a thing for 3 years. Never got proven. I've never been leaked anything from any Man United player that has caused a problem, and I have had stuff from other players and stuff that I won't put out there. So, but what would I be getting leaked? So Rasmus told me on Friday that they're going to arrange a behind the closed doors game for Sesko and Onana. Oh yeah, that's exactly what happened. Rasmus told me that we're selling Onana in March. Rasmus told me that Yoro will be fit for the final. Rasmus told me that we're not in for Semenyo. Rasmus told me that we've got to sell a midfielder to buy a midfielder. Rasmus told me that, that Delap's the priority. You know, it just doesn't even fucking make sense. But this is what I mean. It's ridiculous because ultimately, we did an interview with Rasmus a couple of years ago, and even certain journalists can't fucking stand it. It's the new media, and they don't like it. And that's what it is at the end of the day. And maybe you don't like it, Alfie, but, 25,000 people on a Monday night at 8 o'clock do, because we have honest conversations. And you know what? If I was worried about what you'd say there, I'd sweep it under the carpet. I know who I talk to, and certainly I don't get stuff from Manchester United from players. Not that sort of stuff. So, but I talk to players. I talk to players who aren't even from Man United because they're human beings, but not that sort of stuff. It'd be bloody stupid. I mean, ultimately, we want Man United to do well. I don't agree with players leaking the team out. I'm fervently against it. He's on like 20k a week. It's a World Cup year. What does he not understand about him not being in the team and destroying teams' interest long term, says Anthony on Garnacho. Maybe he's doing it so that his value decreases and Chelsea can buy him easily, says Moose. Hey, he's fundamentally thinks he's a Chelsea player. I mean, he thought he was a Villa player in June. He thinks he's a Chelsea player now. So what he's doing is basically doing the job of Chelsea's negotiator. He's exactly trying to lower his price down to as low as it can so Chelsea can afford him. Because what he wants to do, I read something today, I think Romano said it, he's ready to go and do his medical at the drop of a hat. I mean, I would love, no, that's not fair. But no, he's ready to do a medical now. I would say, mate, I wouldn't bother. You're not doing a medical till August the 31st at this rate. You're nowhere near it. You're a Man United player. You signed a contract at Manchester United, adhere to it, and get Chelsea to pay what you're worth. We're not asking for 60. I think 40 does it. Get it done. Go and prove yourself. Chelsea or a stay for 6 to 12 months. That's a bold statement coming from a guy trying to make the international team for next year's World Cup, says Z3. What a disgrace he is. So disappointing, but clearly he's been a bad apple for a while, says Jack O'Connor with the leaks. I must say, in defence of Garnacho, obviously you hear things. I never heard that he was the leak for the team. I know some people did. I know 2 names that were involved in that, and I will never put them out there because I've never had a team leak to me. But what is most important is that those leaks stopped instantly after that. But that was not one of the 2 names I had. But, you know, it was more than one person doing it, apparently. My Joe just said, as a plain as day, throw my Garnacho shirts in the bin. He doesn't deserve to have his name at our club. I've lost respect for him, and that's from an 11-year-old. Disgusting attitude, says Gems. It's sad, though, isn't it, Gems? Because, I mean, I'm not an 11-year-old, but, you know, it's a player I really like, and I think in the modern game, it's so sad that youngsters have that, because when I was growing up, I loved people like Roy Keane and Beckham and Giggs and people like that, and you know, I wasn't aware of any reason not to like them because they didn't do anything to Manchester United to make me not like them. But it's sad. It's sad how many prats we've had in Man United shirts over the last 10 years. Just for the trolls, unless Chelsea pay up, I would make him sit on his bum for 24 months. No player is bigger than United, and that message is Pogba-esque, says Sean. We do need the money for Garnacho, though. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, I would take the money. I just wouldn't take 30 million. But we do need the money. You know, it's pure profit. Garnacho's stance on this shows his mentality is pants, says Matthew. Does he even care about Argentina or the World Cup, says Ben. Yeah, he needs to be suspended without pay for detriment to the team. He has zero power to make those demands, says Tony. How to piss a promising career up the wall, 101. He's clueless. He'll get left behind and he'll be praying for clubs like Villa or Napoli, says Emily Derry. Look, I don't know anything about him other than I think he's a talented player. You know, someone like Juan Mata, incredibly intelligent player off the pitch. There are other players that are, you know, incredibly stupid that I've met and you go, oh my God, you know, you're really good at football, but you're really thick. So I don't know. I mean, I think that those people who don't come into contact with footballers very often assume that they're intelligent people. Trust me, some of them are really thick. So I'm not saying Garnacho's thick. He's a kid, but you know, it's incredible, like how badly advised they are, really. But they live in a bubble. I was talking to somebody about this today. They live in a bubble. Somebody was talking to me today about a footballer who, I can't remember what it was. They were constantly getting in trouble for something. I think it was like drink driving or something like that. It wasn't recently anyway, so, you know, and I'm obviously not going to name who it was. But it was like they were constantly getting pulled over by the police for drink driving in the area, and it was well known in the area. Obviously, it's not a Man United player. And they were like, the person was saying to me, you know, it was well known. Like, and I was like, but the problem is, when you're a footballer, you get paid this ridiculous money, you live in a bubble, and everyone tells you great. How dangerous is that for a young person to be told, you're amazing, you can do anything you want? The barriers that we have in society, especially when you're in your early 20s or your late teens, we know where the rules are. You can't do this, you can't do that. If I do that, I'm losing my job, this, that, and the other. Imagine having all that wealth and everyone telling you you're great. Barriers disintegrate, don't they? Garnacho will probably be like the Post, says Mike McDonald. How does his agent allow him to come out with statements like this, says Alan. He is not on a high wage. Let him rot in the reserve, says Min. He can duck off, spoilt little shit, says We Are United. The little prick trying to bully us with Chelsea. I'd rather keep an eye on him route at home, playing, not playing. Chelsea ain't bullying us, says Sean. Thank you very much, Sean. Sounds like he's hanging around with Sancho and Rashford too much, says Carlos. Let him rot, not as he's not on a big wage, says Big Trox. Make the Pratt sit in the reserve, says Mike JW, unless we get 55 million. We got a crippled donkey for 55 million from Chelsea. They can give us 55 million for Garnacho, says Mike. If we beat Arsenal, we would get oiled up. Alex, what is this oiled up stuff? Let's leave it. Garnacho is a modern day football fraud, get rid. I believe he's a good player, Crocodile Man. I mean, I know some Chelsea fans aren't sure on him, but I do think he's a good player. And when he grows up, which I'm convinced he will, and focus, I mean, he was never really injured for United. He was always available. He obviously likes football. Just needs to bloody grow up. Garnacho is a modern day fraud, get rid, says Crocodile. Ryan's a Chelsea fan, and he says Garnacho better get Amrim's apology drafted soon. And social media has a terrible impact on football. There's nothing anyone can do, but it's true. Any toxicity always begins there, says Tom. And these players are massively on social media. There'll be Man United players watching this show. I know some of them that do. Why wouldn't they? It's the biggest Manchester United community in the world. They're Man United players. They've got a lot of spare time. And they're on social media just like everybody else. And they're a lot younger than some of us as well. And they probably haven't learned that, how you deal with that is, you need to grow up a little bit and mature. Not everyone's going to like you. And not everyone's going to dislike you. And I think that, you're in a privileged position. Surround yourself with honest people. At this point, I'd almost be happy if we didn't sell him. This is him trying to be more powerful than the club. Let him waste in the youth, says Brandon. As somebody has said, how to destroy your legacy at Manchester United in 2 months. Thoughts on the extended revolving credit facility? I'm going to talk about that next, Hitton. And Man United must act like Brighton. Chelsea must pay or Garnacho stays. Simple. We mustn't be forced to sell him on the cheap, says Samuel. Sell for 40 and add in a 50% sell-on clause, says Dane. I just wondered, though, if what's going on here is that we have to sell Garnacho to get Baleba. I just wonder if that's the angle that they're thinking about. It's nuts that he's desperate to be fifth choice winger, says Matthew. And Chelsea are valuing Jackson at 80 and Garnacho at 30. Has football moved to Mars, according to Chelsea, says Mojo. Going to Chelsea will be a horrible decision. He will end up at Granada in 2 years, says Tony. Baleba or double swoop for the Longstaff brothers, says Jay. And what's your favourite Steely Dan song? I don't know. Make him sit on his ass for the rest of his contract, says Abhijit. They made us pay for Mount. They have to pay now, says Fishcake. And Ibrahim says, Mark, Chelsea used Garnacho to push for a strike, so United lowered the price. United and Amorim won't care. Low salary. They can say stay until 2028 or strike and lose pay. His career, his problem. I believe we will get a fair price. Let's not bite our face to spit our nose. I think we should get rid, even if it's below value, says Woody. No. I disagree. We can't be taking the piss out of. £40 million is a fair price and it's cheap. We don't go below that. I don't think we'll go below that. Right, let me talk to you about Baleba because there is a bit of news coming out on that, which is obviously positive news. So effectively, this is coming from Fabrizio Romano. Manchester United plan for new talks for Baleba in the upcoming days. Man United believe Baleba is keen on the move and personal terms won't be an issue. Contacts follow on Brighton's side as deal remains very difficult, but United will try. So we're moving to the next stage with Baleba now. So that's a really positive thing. Look, I am very relaxed about Baleba. It reminds me of a week ago when we were talking about Sesko and I was saying, keep calm, I'm very relaxed. It's going to be very drawn out, this, because it's escalated in a way that we're not used to. So terms are agreed, transfer request is in, but not in the normal way because Brighton have allowed us to talk to Baleba. We've set those terms up. He has said to Brighton that he's interested in coming to us, transfer request, but very respectful, of course. So the next step is obviously that we're going to go. We're going to go. No, we're not going to go. I don't mean we're going to go. I mean, we're going to go to Brighton and see what can happen. And this is where it gets interesting because this is where, as Beth was reacting to this afternoon, there's talk of world record bids. What is that world record bid, by the way? Is that like the world record for an African player? Because it can't be the world record because the world record is 118, isn't it? Or 120. And we're surely not paying that. I heard it was 110. So is the world record... Yeah, it's to do with an African player. Okay, that's fine. Look, I'm very relaxed about this. It's not my money. I have to keep saying this. It's not our money. We're not accountants. We spend too much time wondering about where the money's going to come from and how we're going to do it. I don't think Liverpool fans do that. I don't think Arsenal fans do that. I definitely don't think Man City fans ever did that. We're Manchester United, and if they want to spend a £110 million package on Baleba, ultimately, I would say, great signing, you better be buying a bloody goalkeeper as well. And as long as they get a goalkeeper as well, I couldn't give a shit if they spend £150 million on Baleba. Because really, all that's left to do with this window is get Baleba and get a goalkeeper. And if we do that, I'm really not bothered whether we spend £110 million or not. Because the club will clearly know that we need to buy players next year. And if we're blowing the budget now and we're never spending again, then we're screwed, aren't we? So I presume we're spending money that we know we've got. And I presume we're spending money that we know we will have more money in the summer. So and look, this is the most important thing, as MOT just said in the chat. There is an important update here as well. This has come in today. Effectively, it was discussed by Laurie Whitwell from The Athletic. He says United have extended their revolving credit facility. Something around 300 million is what they already had available to them. They dip into this every summer market and basically slap it on the credit card and pay it back when they had a bit of cash flow coming in. They've now got a wider berth on that. I don't know the exact figures. They have got more cash at their disposal via their method. So effectively, without behaving like a banker, more, I'm a W at the front of that. But the point is, we've always, for a few years now, had this revolving credit facility. So it's around 300 million quid. We don't have 300 million quid, by the way. That's not the update. We haven't got 300 million quid. It's a revolving facility that we can use, like a credit card, and we pay back when we've got the money to pay it back. So there might not be a full 300 million pounds in there, but there could be a couple of 100 million in there. So, and obviously you don't spend 200 million pounds in one summer anyway, because you pay in installments. So we have got money to do stuff. And look, it doesn't sound to me like the question is we can't afford Baleba. It sounds to me like, is it worth doing that? Because I've seen a few people say, is Baleba the only player in the world that can do what Amrin wants? Because that's quite a dangerous thing. It's very rare that a manager would say, that's the only player that's going to do this. You've got to break the bank for this player because this is the only player in the world that can do this. There are certain players like that. Cristiano Ronaldo in his prime, Lionel Messi. You could even say someone like an Erling Haaland is quite unique. But that's more the question. Is Baleba worth £110 million? I don't care about the money. I care about whether he's worth it. And only Ruben Amorim knows that. I think he's a good player. And you know, but is there anybody else? Is there two players we could get instead of him? Is there, how much better is he than Yulmlen or Wharton? You know, that's the question. And if Ruben Amorim says this is the guy that's going to take this club where it needs to be, £100 million is quite cheap. And Arsenal did it with Declan Rice. And Chelsea did it with Caicedo. So as much as the mainstream will try and make out Man United have done the biggest, stupidest deal in the world for a midfielder, we'd actually be the third club I can think of off the top of my head to spend it on a midfielder. So it's been done before. It's really worked for Arsenal. It really worked for Chelsea. We've never really invested in our midfield that well since Roy Keane and Carrick left and Scholes retired. So, you know, Bruno's not really a midfielder as far as I'm concerned. So, you know, you could argue that we've, over the last 20 years, we've never really spent properly on our midfield. So I'm not saying £100 million is cheap. I'm saying if Amorim and Wilcox and Barada and Favell believe collectively that this is the guy, then you go and ask for the money and you say, we all think this is the guy, we all share in it, and you go and do it. I know we bought Pogba, but what I'm saying is I don't think it worked. So I think Pogba was an attempt at this, actually. I think you raise a good point. I think we tried with Pogba. And I remember when we signed Pogba saying that we've failed to replace the likes of Carrick and Scholes and Keane. And this looks like a really good idea to do that. It just didn't work. I always liked Paul Pogba. There were good games. There were bad games. There were good times. There were bad times. But overall, I'd say it didn't work. But we did try. You're right. And £90 million then is more than £100 million now with inflation. I mean, when did we buy Pogba? £89 million in 2016. So 9 years ago, with football inflation, today that would be about 140, 130. So I don't have a problem with the fee. We just need to make sure he's the right player. But the kicker is this: we already have. I opened that for conversation because, you know, I'm provocative. But my mic drop is, You might not think Baleba's worth it. Man United do. They've already made that choice. They've already decided that this is the guy, because you don't have talks with the player, because you already know Brighton are going to ask for 100 million. So Man United already know. The price doesn't bother me because Man United already know. You know, if they knock on the door to Brighton and they go, we want 100 million, and United go, I can't believe it. You're taking a piss. I can't wait till I tell Sir Jim. Sir Jim, they want 100 million. At the end of the day, tell them to go fuck themselves. You know, we knew this. So Man United know. And I feel that this deal will be in excess of £100 million with achievable add-ons, where the base is probably about 80 and we pay 20 a year. Repeating what I said this morning, you could do 80 million now over 4 years, and then you could do 10 million when we're in the Champions League, 10 million when he's paid 50 games, and another 10 million when he's paid 100. And all three of those are going to be massively achievable if he is the player we think he is. And Brighton end up with 110 million. So there we go. Sam says that breaking news, Donnarumma is a here we go. Yeah, and breaking news, Sam is a liar. Donnarumma, we've spoken about earlier on. Again, look, what I would say about Baleba is it's going to take a bit of time, and it's going to be a little bit of an Ornstein drop at some point. And I just have a feeling with Baleba it's going to get done a lot quicker than people think, because I had a message from a Brighton fan who works in a similar world to United Stand, really. And he was basically saying that when you look at Brighton, they don't piss about. Like, if a player wants to go and they can get the money for them, they'll do it, because it's not in their interest to wait until the end of August, because they'll be thinking about replacements themselves. They're very pragmatic. They don't sit crying going, oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Sorry. They'll be like, well, let's get the money. Let's go and get other players. Let's move on. And so I just get a feeling it might move quite quickly. But with Donnarumma, I think that's going to be a longer process. And I don't necessarily know whether we'll get him. Why are we bothered from where the cash is coming from? As long as we don't get tangled with PSR and lose points, I don't care, says Mrs. Stone. Exactly. Frank says, £100 million for a player should be at his peak ability, not potential. What's he going to cost in a few years after some trophies? 600, says Frank. Get Lemens, get rid of Bienda, Costa next summer, says Lewis. Like Arsenal and Chelsea, if we sign Baleba, we need to then progressively build a midfield around him and stick to Amrim's project, says Emily Derry. And we need to get a holding midfielder or push one of the centre-backs up. We can't just fill the squad with number 8s and number 10s, says Slazy. Absolutely spot on. I think the 3 centre-backs need to figure out how to play this system quickly, because they've got to be part of the midfield. That defensive line needs to be a lot higher. Like, I watched Liverpool yesterday and Carragher was sort of going, oh, it's weak, it's weak. They'll be fine. They play a very, very high line with a good sweeper keeper, and we should be doing the same. And with 3 centre-backs, one of those centre-backs at least should be in the midfield. We should be suffocating the opposition. And we're not. We're counter-attacking, and we should be swamping the opposition. That's what we should be doing. World record deal is Neymar at 222. I mean, that's a good question. I like Donnarumma. But most of the time I watched... Is Donnarumma a sweeper keeper, in your opinion? World record deal is Neymar, says Prod. Thank you very much. Do you really think Garnacho is a problem? How hilarious that sounds. He is putting himself as Mbappe situation while he's not enough for a serious coffee without milk situation, says Ibrahim. Get Donnarumma on loan and target Costa next summer, says Razzler. 34 matches, 3 goals, 107 middle third possessions, 5th in the Premier League, 212 aggressive recoveries, 3rd, 84 percentile for dribbles, and becoming a Baleba, says Lee Galdart. Happy with the transfer window if we get Baleba, even without a goalkeeper, says Simply Red. Oh, no, I'm not on board with that. I respect it. And I think some of you will, but I can't do without a goalkeeper. I think it's like going out on a big night out and, you know, buying yourself a tuxedo and you've got a designer bow tie, a designer shirt, waistcoat, shoes, jacket, and then you're naked from the bottom down. What I thought that would be, but no, I think it's, to me, you're leaving a big hole, and you would be in that way as well. I never thought of that, but no, I think it's, you know, it's like the Titanic with a hole in it, isn't it? It's the best. It's amazing. It's got the best of everything, but it's going to sink, and that to me is why I can't agree with you simply, Red. I cannot go, I'd be okay with the window if we don't get a goalkeeper, because I think it's just a big hole to get exploited. I would hate to go out for a night out with shoes and a top on and nothing on the bottom. Literally, I would feel very vulnerable, front and back. Is that 300 million to use plus player sales? I don't know on social. I don't know. On Garnacho, imagine these were the kind of characters playing for us just a few months ago, says Sahil. It's been worse, mate. I mean, the worst I've ever heard. And look, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said the dressing room. I mean, the game he can't remember when he was at Watford at half time when he got the sack. He didn't get sacked at half time. And didn't he say he looked around the dressing room and people were asking to come off? And he spoke about how one bad apple ruins the bowl. Anecdotally, the worst dressing room we've had since Sir Alex Ferguson retired was the 6 months under Rangnick. And apparently there are stories that will be told about that when players retire. Like, it was apparently like factions in the dressing room, cliques, that's the word, wasn't it? Leaks, a plumber couldn't fix, it was terrible. So, look, last season probably wasn't great, but I don't think it's by any means the worst. It's incredible how much power players have. In the NBA and the NFL, you can get traded anywhere and can't do squat about it, says Sammy. I hope Ruben can trust this lot without leaks to build our future, says Ronaldo. Look, the ironic thing is, and I was saying this, just talking about player power there, the ironic thing is, I would love Donnarumma at Manchester United, but I actually respect what PSG have done. That's anti-player power, isn't it? It's like, you're not running down your contract. We bought a replacement, and also we're not going to pick you. And I, as much as I would like Donnarumma, I love what PSG have done, because that's a club, you know, having a pair. And I always think that should be the way. I think the clubs should have the power. You know, it's the clubs that will stand the test of time. Man United were here in the 50s, the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and will be here in another 50 years' time. These players should not be holding clubs to ransom. Their time is short. It's the clubs that endure. Will Garnacho go the Ravel Morrison way? That's exactly who I was thinking about earlier, and I couldn't remember his name in Perfectly Perfect. I kept thinking Mason Greenwood, but it's not. Obviously, I know it's not Mason Greenwood, but Ravel Morrison, yeah. One of the most talented players we've ever had at the club. Destroyed his career. So don't ever think that talent's enough. Talent in the wrong head, get to bed. It's, you know, it's over. It's sleep time. And that would be my warning to Garnacho. You know, I genuinely would like to get proven right about him. I genuinely would like to see him sort himself out and become the player he can be. Because I don't wish players bad. You know, I'd like Rashford to do well at Barcelona. You know, as much as I never thought it would happen, what McTominay's done at Napoli is great. They deserve the criticism they had at Manchester United. But, yeah, with Garnacho, it's a flip of the coin. The behaviour just has to stop. Has to stop. What happened to Lemens and Wharton, says Mrs. Stone? Nothing. I think they're still at the clubs. Don't let Garnacho anywhere near the youth, says Jeff. Baleba and Lemens are better than Donnarumma and Hojlund by some margin, says Sean. Would you take the job of Man United CEO, says Alex? We all would. Hi, Mark. Potential without discipline is useless. It doesn't matter how much talent is there. It's the character that brings the respect, says Ram. Wish Martinez would set him straight. Proper spanking, says Jesse. And at least Amorim has finally removed these attitudes from the group. Even if we can't sell them all, creating a true team ethic will help performance, says James. I think it's still quite shocking to some United fans, but you know what? We did speak about this when Ruben Amorim got the job in November last year, and we had a few sporting journalists who reached out, and we read a lot of stuff out at the time. His first summer at Sporting was carnage. Way worse than this. The amount of players he got rid of and the amount of players he brought in, I think it went over 20. So I've not been shocked by anything he's done. I'm just grateful that United have allowed him the freedom to do it. Because, as I said, you can moan about Barada and Wilcox and obviously the owners, Sir Jim and Joel Glazer, but they'd all have to sign off those 5 players being banned and not going on the US tour. And that was a line in the sand. That was a huge thing to do. And it really has made a massive difference. 30 million is an insulting offer. We had to pay 55 for injury-prone Mount with 1 year left on his contract. Make that make sense. It's incredible, Cyber Spider. Thank you very much for that. Okay, I'm just catching up on some of your comments. I would ask for Val to buy similar player of Baleba. We know why no opportunity for Kone, says Vejay. Yeah, don't forget about Kone, by the way. People start talking about Mainu and Baleba being the future. We have got some good young players as well. I tell you what, we've got some fantastic players coming through at United. Really good players. Not just Obi and Coney. There's some really exciting players coming through. If he was wrong getting Baleba with us, having Mainu, we should offer a contract that gets upgraded with champs and a clean sheet save, bonus or walk in relation to Donnarumma, says Liam. 30 minutes behind what a bell Garnacho is, says Mike Swan. You made me a believer, midfield fight. You're taking us higher. We're dreamers. You made me. Okay, Mrs. Stone's having a song. Monday night. If I was Chelsea, I wouldn't want Garnacho, even if he was free. To treat your boyhood club like that is not just a red flag, but a nuke, says Cyber Spider. Baleba might learn from playing with Bruno, and next year, if Bruno goes, then we buy a DM, and we've got an 8 for the future, says Roberta Beck. And Ian Tracy says, this summer, when we've done deals, we've not been allowed to mess around with, like Cunha and Sesko. We got them done quickly. Baleba could be the same. I just feel, I don't know why, I just feel quite relaxed about this. Because of who's been briefing the stories. So Razzler said, do you think we could get Water next summer if we get Baleba this summer? Who knows? And Hitton says, what about Casemiro? Well, yeah, what about Casemiro? Because he's a player that United would love to get rid of. It makes me laugh, actually. You've got these hit pieces coming out from the normal journalist about Rasmus, but and I understand why that, because they're bitter and they want to put the story out, and they're constantly talking about it. But I think sometimes these client journalists don't actually see what's at the end of their nose. We're trying to sign Baleba, and we're trying to force Casemiro out. Casemiro is on over 300 grand a week, and he's barely going to play if we get Baleba, is he? So that is one that in the last few weeks, I mean, it probably won't happen because he wants to run his contract down. But, you still look at it and you go, if you get Baleba and you've got Bruno in the midfield, and then you've got Agate who's going nowhere, and you've got Mainu, how much game time does Casemiro actually get? Pletty goal is, I mean, this is interesting because he is a German journalist and I don't know what he would know about Brighton, but look, sometimes he's very accurate. He was certainly good around Sesko. So Florian Plettenberg is saying Brighton are fully informed about Man United's interest in Baleba, but they are totally relaxed as they are still determined to keep him. More talk between the agents and the 21-year-old midfielder are happening in the background. Baleba and Man United remain one to watch until deadline day. Yeah, I mean, that seems to me like it's not as good an update as Romano, who is saying that we're going to talk to Brighton this week. So I think that's a bit of a, it's not really an update, is it? Jadon Sancho cannot find a suitable club for himself in the European market. There is a high possibility that his destination will be Turkey. That's from Fabrizio Romano. I'd forgotten about Sancho, and that's a good thing. Yeah, I had forgotten about him. So, yeah, let's see what happens with that. There's an update from iPaper saying that Garnacho's move to Chelsea is progressing. The player is keen to get the move agreed. A fee of around 50 million should lead to the move being completed in the coming weeks. With any money raised from potential sales, United will look to add another midfielder and possibly a goalkeeper. I don't like that update, though, because that's probably why he's being held to ransom, isn't he? So interesting. But what it does say, and this is quite interesting, Inter Milan, Roma, Juventus and Napoli have joined AC Milan in making inquiries with Rasmus Hojlund's representatives. Now that could be significant because I actually don't think Milan is... I think it's very clear that AC Milan have spoken to Man United and Manchester United are pushing for that move because they want money. But I think when you look at it from Rasmus's point of view, AC Milan are they're basically the Man United of Italy. They're not in Europe and their prospects of being back in the Champions League next year are not great. Whereas Inter Milan finished second last year and will be in the Champions League. Napoli are the title holders and will be in the Champions League. Juventus, I think, are in Europe and Roma as well. So all four of those are going to be far more appealing to him. So look, that might be quite significant if that is true. My feeling was always that there's a very big chance he'll be gone by the end of the month, even though that might not be his intention at the moment, as per Fabrizio. But I think if a decent club comes in, then that probably works better. Sancho can't find club. Would you keep him in the squad? No. You'd like. I've always said about Jadon Sancho, I find it really boring talking about him. And I've always said about Sancho that he's got 1 year left on his contract. Why would you go anywhere? He's got a massive payday next summer when he's a free agent. Why would you get a transfer fee for Man United who he doesn't like and a wage that won't be as good as next summer? So I've always found it fascinating that we were apparently close to selling him to Juventus or here, there or Dortmund. I think Sancho goes on loan and runs his contract down. Surely that's the most obvious thing to do financially. Keystone says it's a big season for Xerxes. Don't sleep on him. Well, I don't think anybody in this community is sleeping on Xerxes. We've obviously not seen him for the last few months because he was injured for the last couple of months of last season. And he's been injured for for pre-season. So we've seen Xerxes with the Snapdragon phone or whatever, but we haven't seen him on the pitch. I don't know whether he's close to being ready for Arsenal, but he has to have a role. I agree. I think, I'd be very surprised if he doesn't have a role to play at Manchester United in some way, shape or form. And it's hard to see how he gets in the starting lineup, but it's hard to see how Mason Mount gets in. And yet, I think he might start against Arsenal. I agree with Robert McCormack. So we might have an idea of what we think the best 11 is, but how often does that ever work out? I mean, when we bought Agate, we presumed Ten Hag was going to play Mainu and Agate, and he didn't. Could you see Anthony, Sancho or Garnacho playing another game for United if any of them remain? Might have something to prove before the World Cup, says Michael. Well, I saw that Cunha was at Anthony's house having dinner over the weekend. So obviously Anthony is maintaining relationships with current Man United players. I don't see a way back for Garnacho. I think, even if there was a pathway back, the immaturity has burnt it. Could you imagine if Garnacho played against Fulham? No, Burnley. Could you imagine what the reception would be? So I can't see a way back for Garnacho. Similarly, I can't see a way back for Sancho because, again, too many bridges have been burned, freedom and all that shit. So I can't see that. And the most important thing is neither of them two want to play for Man United again. We always forget about the player. Neither of them want to play for Man United again. The most likely one to come back, if they were to come back, would be Anthony. But I don't see where he'd fit in. We've got so many players now. I just don't see where he'd fit in. So I don't see Anthony coming back because people say bench him, but if you've got Cunha and Mbeumo and Sesko, that means you've got Xerxes and Mount on the bench. So I don't see where Anthony fits in, to be fair. What does Agate need to do to get minutes, says Madaf? Play well. Simple as. Simple as. Could you see, I've done that one from Michael. Big season for Xerxes, we've done that. Imagine Wharton and Baleba in midfield 2 for Man United, says Shrey. You just did. Sancho has a high possibility of sitting on his couch, transfer himself to Dortmund on FC 25, says Paul Fisher. I would go for Hjulmand next season to play with Baleba. That would be a good pivot, says J.E. Sancho, well, let's not forget Mainu. Let's not sleep on that. Sancho can't, I mean, Kobbie Mainu is going to sign a new contract very, very soon as well. Like, that is ready to go. I just don't know when Man United are going to do it. I presume we'd do it in August, but they might just do it in the international break, I suppose. Sancho can't find club. Would you keep him in the squad? We've done that from MUFC. Absolutely not. I feel Amram is the guy before the guy. He's doing so much right with cleaning the club up, but don't think he's going to get the time he needs on the pitch, says Ravel. Results. What I know about Amram is that he's really well liked. Like, the board like him, the ownership like him, the players like him. He's really, really well liked. But obviously, that won't be enough if results go bad. So he needs results to survive. Like, he can't do what every manager needs results. So I'd be an idiot if I sat here and said he's bulletproof, like he won't get the sack. But I would also say as long as he finishes 8th or above, he will be fine. And I don't think we are going to have bad results this season. Theoretically speaking, we buy Baleba and Donnarumma. What will make your Amram out? What will make you Amram out this season? Or is that not a question? Just what I said there, Frank. I mean, I don't want to be Amram out. I don't believe I will be Amram out. But if you go and lose 10 games before Christmas, I can't be a hypocrite. Nobody's bigger than Man United. So results drive everything, don't they? As we can't afford to have a season where we go, it's okay to finish in the bottom half of the table. Like, we can't do that again. As a centre-back, when the team's competent, you step 3 to 4 metres higher. This season, mental strength is the real key to playing with bravery, says Thomas. Can you remember the picture of Garnacho, Kobbie and Rasmus, Life's Mad? I mean, I actually saw somebody tweet about that today, AI. And I thought, you know what? If somebody'd stopped, if I'd have done the match reaction after that and put the picture up and said, in just over a year's time, we'll be trying to sell one, the other one had been wearing a Villa shirt, and the other one won't even be able to get near the team, you'd go, what the fuck? It's almost like it's cursed. It feels wrong getting Baleba when I've done that one from Liam, haven't I? Thank you very much for that. Somebody just said a bomber from Pletigol. Please don't tell me the bomber is the one I literally spoke about, because it's just not an update. I'm just having a quick look. Here's an interesting point from Swedish Rumble. He says, Garnacho playing hardball with Man United isn't necessarily that bad. The Premier League transfer window closes before Turkey and Saudi. So if he doesn't go to Chelsea on the 1st of September, he's then got the prospect of sitting on the bench or going to Turkey or Saudi, and we could still get what we want. It's a fair point. Fair point. You know, he might say, I'm only going to Chelsea, but then when Chelsea can't sign him, I'm sure he'd be quite happy to go to Turkey or Saudi. Sorry, I'm just checking this here. I think it's a bit of a spam thing, but let me have a look. Yeah, it's Florian Plettenberg's update on Baleba is not even as good as the Romano one we had at the start of the show that we're going to be in talks with Brighton this week. So it's pretty much the same, but doesn't even mention that. Okay. What did you think about the prospect of Barcelona playing Villarreal in Miami in December in La Liga? I'm going to get myself in trouble here. I knew it was going to happen. It nearly happened with La Liga last year, didn't it? Was it El Clasico that they were trying to do in New York? So basically, a La Liga game could be being played in Miami in December. And some people are saying the game's gone. The NFL have been doing this for a long time. And I just think it's ridiculously naive not to think this is going to happen. The Club World Cup, the Champions League that's like a Super League, the ridiculous money that's in football now, the constant going to the US from Man United on a summer tour, which is basically a US tour every summer. Like, football is changing before our eyes. And I said this summer on That's Football, I guarantee you that this league structure in the Champions League where you play 8 games, and you don't need to play 8 games. It was all about money anyway. I guarantee you it's in the pipeline that some of those league games in the Champions League will start being played around the world. New York, Sydney, it's going to happen. Now, you've got every right to moan about it. Do you want to see Man United playing Liverpool in New York in a Premier League game? I mean, that's going to be the nail in the coffin of many people's sort of legacy support. But it is going to happen because the money is immense. If you think about Man United at home to Burnley, 3rd game of the season, United will know how much they're going to earn, blah, blah, blah. You put that in LA and they can earn a hell of a lot more. It's like the F1. The F1 goes from Bahrain to Baku to Silverstone to Vegas, and it's a separate set of sponsorships, everything, the money, everything, and they're just going to do. They're going to do it. They're going to do it, and you know, I'm very bad at adapting to change, but I know it's going to happen. So my response to it is, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. And people say, well, how do you stop it? How do you stop it? Because you're telling me if you live in New York, you wouldn't mind seeing Barcelona play Villarreal. You know, I don't know. But it's inevitable it's going to happen. And I don't really know what you do to stop it, to be honest with you. Chelsea won a trophy with Donald Trump in the team, says Don McBride. Can you leave the countdown intro you did on That's Football? I'm loving it. Can you leave the countdown intro you did? Oh, mate, that if you haven't watched my Premier League predictions, I probably should have watched it back myself. I'm very much somebody who likes to do things. I like live content. I don't like recording anything. So when I record it, I'm really crap at. I trust myself. I'll think through it and I'll go, I didn't say anything there that's going to get me cancelled. Put it up. So, yeah, I'd had a couple of drinks when I did that one yesterday, and I didn't realise that I'd left in 1, 2, 3. I also sacked Patrick Bamford as Leeds manager, and weirdly was talking about porn stars and meat. But, you know, the fact remains, I said Man United will finish 5th. Moose says, yeah, but Liverpool United game in the US will also be amazing for global fans as games can happen in their cities, maybe instead of just the UK. In says, look, Liverpool Man United should never get played anywhere apart from Anfield and Old Trafford. Like, you know, I nearly let it go, but Liverpool Man United should never get played anywhere other than Liverpool or Manchester United. Never. I can understand if Bournemouth were playing Manchester United in Bournemouth, we don't lose out. Bournemouth have only got 11,000 fans. You take it to the MetLife in New York, you have 80,000 there, and you split the gate receipts. Bournemouth earn more than they'll ever earn from 11,000, and we earn out of it as well. I understand that. You know, I'd negotiate that. If someone's saying we've got to do it, I would say, well, we don't lose an Old Trafford game, but let's take one of the clubs that have got a small attendance. Let's take that to New York. Let's do it in front of 80,000 people. They're going to earn more than they would at their place. We'll get some money out of it as well. But you can't take Liverpool, Man United and play that anywhere other than Liverpool or Manchester. But you could take other games. You could do Carabao Cup games. You know, FA. I don't know. I think it's coming. And ultimately, as much as I probably would be against it, in a way I sort of understand it, if that makes sense. I am against it because I'm traditional. I want it to stay as it is. But I also understand that, you know, I quite like it when the NFL do it. So, people who say we're going to win the league if we get Baleba and Donnarumma forget how we thought the same when we got Pogba, Zlatan and Bailey and Mkhitaryan in the same window. It's a long road ahead. You don't win the league, Inns. You're absolutely spot on. You don't win the league because you have a good transfer window. You've got to bed these players in. Look at Chelsea when they spent $1 billion. You know, they spent like $2 billion and they scraped top 4. It takes time. I think Chelsea will be a good team this year. It takes time. With the World Cup looming, I think hold out for sales. Lack of movement hurts from them more than us. Pull a PSG, find a club or sit on the bench, says Matt. Chelsea won a trophy. Done that one. Off topic, does anyone else think Amorim sounds like Gru from Despicable with Me? Says Frank. Just hung up on my girlfriend so I could keep watching, says Hardeep. Ooh. How has Amorim immediately identified the bad apples and dealt with them, but other managers didn't? Or maybe they couldn't do anything about it? I think you've answered your own question, Madaf. I mean, Jose wanted to get rid of them. Garnacho, more like Garnacho. I mean, look, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer said that Marcus Rashford needs to focus more on his football and less on what he does in his private life. The next interview, he had to stand there before he took any questions and apologise. Why do you think every other manager didn't remove the bad players? Because the club protected them. Amorim has come out and been backed. That's why I would applaud Sir Jim and people who have backed him on that. Could you done that one from Michael Favre as well? Shahin says, I live in the US. I don't want Premier League games here. People don't appreciate it here. They don't understand the history. You can support them from anywhere, but games belong to people in England. There we go, Shahin, and it's a very popular one as well. Okay, thank you everybody for watching. Really appreciate it. We're back at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, of course, unless anything happens before. Take care, and thank you very much for watching. Please smash a like on the video and subscribe. Okay, very, very quick after show tonight because I was late anyway. But yeah, the That's Football Premier League predictions, you should watch it because even I enjoyed it. When you do content like that and you don't really remember a lot of it, it is quite an interesting watch back. Yeah, why I said Patrick Bamford goes beyond me. I know Patrick Bamford's a bloody forward. The funny thing is, I've seen it a lot today because the haters have gone, why do people listen to Goldbridge? He thinks Patrick Bamford's a manager. I don't think Patrick Bamford's a manager. I've just said a bloody word. I've said 2 words wrong. And then I've corrected myself because I know it's Farquhar or Fark. Yeah, it was quite, even I thought, you know. I'd have kept that in anyway. If I'd have edited it, I'd have kept it in anyway. I would have kept it in. Anyway. Oh, you know what? I forgot to tell you this. I was meant to tell you this on Friday. I was driving my daughter over to training at the academy. And it takes about half an hour to get there. And it's quite... You can go down the motorway or you can go through the back roads. So I went through the back roads because it was a nice day. And I thought, you know what, we'll go through the back roads. Went through quite a pleasant little town. And as I was coming out of it, I was driving my daughter's car, which she's just got from passing a test. And it's got one of those boxes on it where it, if you don't adhere to the speed limit, it starts doing this beepy noise. I bloody hate it. I can't drive it. It's like driving a bloody Dodgem car. You know when you've spent all your life driving a car without it? I don't break the rules, but if I'm driving in a 30, I might drive at 33. And if I'm driving in a 40, I might do 44. But with that on it, if you do 33, it goes bing, 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 bing. So it makes you drive to the speed limit. Anyway, it saved my life. Not my life. I'm driving out of this town and my daughter goes, what's that guy there doing with that, taking pictures? And as I went past doing 32, because I was like, I don't want the noise, I looked and he was there with one of them bloody traffic guns. One of them bloody traffic guns, checking people's speed. Well, that was me. I was off. Not with speed. I still carried on doing 32 and I didn't get a ticket. But it just annoys me. It really annoys me. And it's you know what it is? It's symbolic of life. on how easy targets are targeted. Like, there is no way in a million years that that traffic guy with his camera would go and stand in Aston doing that. Or in the middle of Wolverhampton. He wouldn't do it because it's urban and you probably get a load of shit. But go and stand in a nice little village and do it and target people who, you know, will just tut at you basically. And there's a van that does it. Like, if you won't know it, right? There's a town called Solihull which is near Birmingham, and as you go into it off the M42, it's a 40, and you go down a hill and it changes to a 30. I mean, if you've ever driven a car, this is ridiculous. So you're halfway down the hill, it goes from a 40 to a 30. What does going down a hill do? It makes you go quicker. And then you go round a blind corner immediately as it goes to 30. And as you go round the corner, you can't see because there's a hedge. There's normally a traffic speed limit camera there. It's a mobile one. It must, you know, Solihull Council must bank that for the Christmas party every year. But they wouldn't go and do it in a city area because they wouldn't have any wheels left. But they do it to target easy people. It annoys the shit out of me. Because I've had to do a few speeding courses. And not for speeding. I mean, well, technically I was speeding, but nothing like 100 mile an hour or anything like that. It's always stupid things. It's not my fault. Like, one of them, I was coming off the motorway and they had temporary bloody speed limit. And everybody, you know the latest one I had? I was on the motorway coming back from Manchester, and obviously a lot of you don't live in the UK, but you might have this in your country. So the motorway speed limit is 90, isn't it? I'm taking the piss. I know it's not 90. It's 80. It's 70, really. But anyway, so the speed limit's 70. And I'm driving along. And it goes down to this, what they call average speed section, where they're doing roadworks. Because they're always doing roadworks on the M6, which is the main road up to Manchester from certain areas like Birmingham. Anyway, I slow down and I'm doing about 55 in the middle lane. Average speed. And there's car after car after car going past. Right? So I'm like, I'm going to go a little bit quicker here. And I end up with a bloody ticket. I mean, ultimately, I deserved it. But what I'm saying, and I did deserve it. And I tell you what, when I did do the course, it made me realise that you should. It's breaking news. You should adhere to speed limits. You definitely should. But you know, you definitely should. My point is, I don't like the idea of getting caught going down that hill and having to do another bloody thing because I was 36 instead of 33. Did you see Cycling Mikey yesterday, says Matthew? I don't watch it. I don't know. Patrick Banford is also the economist who said Brexit is a good idea, says Perk. Thank you very much for that. Yapbridge. Oh, I know what I was going to speak to you about tonight as well. Creativity. AI should be used as an association, not as a shortcut. You're killing your creativity as the youth of tomorrow. You know, you should be writing your own songs. You should be writing your own comedies, your own films. You should be, you know, don't use AI as a shortcut because you're ultimately shortcutting yourself. Learning is so important. Reading a book is so important. Stop using AI as a shortcut. You're just turning yourself into a moron. Like, seriously, I see it all the time. People are like, I didn't even do my homework. I did it on AI. Yeah, you didn't learn anything then, did you? You're just being lazy. You're shortcutting. You're not. You are basically making the future societies of this world thick. Like, you need to learn. AI is great, but don't use it for your learning. You have to learn. Find out through your own learning what the capital of Denmark is. Like, find out from your own learning what algebra is. You know, find out from your own learning how to speak Spanish. Like, it's really important. It's really, really important because you're going to end up really thick, basically. And I think it's really important. Like, I used to write songs. I've always been very creative. I was thinking about this day. There were shit songs. Cup of Tea and Biscuits was probably one of the worst songs you'd ever hear if I could remember it. But you gotta have creativity. It's like going in your back garden. If you want an analogy for it, right? If you want to do 100 keep-ups, you can't ask AI. It might create you a little video of you doing it, but you're not really doing it. In fact, you probably can do that. There's a video of me, I haven't seen it for years, probably 10 years ago, where I'm in a suit with a pair of shoes doing 100 kick-ups in my back garden. AI could probably create that now, but I know it's not me. So if you want to do 100 kick-ups off both feet, you've got to go in your garden, you've got to practice. And when you've done it, you've got a skill. And that's really important. That's my lesson for today. Stop being bloody lazy. There's nothing wrong with AI. It can be used for a lot of good things, but I can't stand people who use it to not learn. Like, knowledge is power. And who do you think created AI? A human. You're doing yourself out of it. And I really agree with Steve, learn an instrument. I think that is one of the best things you can do. I can play guitar to a decent level, but the discipline and learning and reward, it's a very dangerous road. I've said this before. If you think we're going to get this utopian society where we don't have to work because AI does it for us, we are going to have a mass problem of mental health. Because the human being cannot deal with a month in Ibiza on a beach holiday. Most of us have had enough on day 8. So waking up in the morning and having nothing to do because everything's done for you is not going to be good for the human psyche. As good as it sounds that you won't have to work, you know. And who's going to make the movies? Who's going to make the TV series that you want to watch? AI should be a supplement, not a solution. And I think people are losing skills because of it. I mean, who plays the bloody clarinet now? I worry about stuff that we're going to lose because of AI. Like, there must be jobs that are going to become redundant in the next 10 years that people will never learn how to do. Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, I won't be using AI to pick my FPL team. I've heard of this. I've heard of this. People are using AI to pick their FPL teams. I'll tell you what, it won't bloody work. Football is not for that. Not at all. Manchester makes a good point. The unfortunate thing about AI is there's no restrictions on it. As always, human takes things to the extreme, e.g. nuclear weapons. I genuinely think it's going to end up like Terminator. You know, all these people say that the machines won't do it. If it's made by humans, it will do it. It will. Would you use AI to wipe your arse? No, I think it's quite, you know, it's part of the journey, you know? Arda says, do you worry about mental health already deteriorating with teenagers? I think it's I do. I mean, it's a serious question for a Monday, but I genuinely do. This is why I say about creativity. I love, like, taking Seb to football or training or when my daughter's playing, because I just think at its very purity, this is something that I used to do. Like, football is just, it's a football with a group of people where you're interacting and you're social, and it's just great to watch. And I don't think that can ever be impacted. Sport, competitive sport, team sport, how does that get impacted by technology, really? It doesn't. We're never going to get VAR, are we? And it's so great. We need more of that. Like, it's so important. You know, nobody plays army with their mates anymore, do they? No one goes out on bike rides with their mates anymore. A lot of stuff's been taken away by technology. They're all in their bedrooms playing, you know, online and stuff like that. So we need to find ways to, you know, history teaches a lot about children and development. And I think we're losing our way because they're sort of absorbed by technology. You know, you go down your local pub They shouldn't be there. But, you know, some people will be down there with their kids and they're not playing in the beer garden. They're playing on their phones. And I think that's, you know, there are positives to it, but there are also negatives as well. And I think that, you know, mental health is so prevalent in society now. One, because we talk about it, but I've said this to a few people. If I'd grown up with the technology that my kids have, I think it would have caused me problems. Like online FIFA would have been terrible for me. Terrible for me. Because I'd have been addicted. 100%. I'd have been addicted to like playing it. Grand Theft Auto, all that sort of stuff. So there's stuff that we pontificate about, but we don't understand because we didn't have it. And the impact that must have, that you know, like even things like, you know, when I used to get home from school, the contact with your friends would either be on a phone call, which we never did, or down the local park. And once it hit 9 o'clock and it got dark and you went home, you didn't see each other till the school bus tomorrow. Now, you can be in groups where you're being bullied at midnight. That is scary. Like, and that's just WhatsApp or whatever. So, yeah, I think there's a lot more pressures for our youth today. And when I say youth, I mean, obviously people, you know, in their teens as well. So, yeah, there's a lot that we've just not got to grips with yet. And I think it will lead to an increase in mental health in younger people. And obviously that leads to an increase in, you know, serious things, which is why we have to deal with the antidote. I mean, look, I personally think that it's a very liberating thing to put your phone down and not use it for an hour. I really do. You know, I love it. I love it when it's tough in the transfer window because I have missed a here we go. But there's nothing better than leaving the phone and going in the garden and having a kickabout with Seb, or, you know, just lying in the sun and reading a book, or, you know, having a massage, or going naked in the hot tub. No, I'm joking. That's always late at night. But I think we you know, I'm probably boring the shit out of people, but I do think you need to preach it. I'm not saying technology is a bad thing. It's a great thing. I couldn't have done this 20 years ago. This is technology. But the ability to socialize, communicate as human beings has to be the number one. And I don't even know where my phone is at the moment, but we shouldn't be reliant on these things. Like, they should be a supplement, not a necessity. Reading a book is such a rewarding thing. Watching a film is such a rewarding thing. Going for a walk with your mates is a rewarding thing. Learning an instrument is such a rewarding thing. I remember when I did 100 kick-ups for the first time off both feet, by the way. Nobody gave me a medal or anything, but it was rewarding. It was a skill. Value you. Technology doesn't value you. Technology needs you. Value yourself. Like, I just look at some of the amazing talents out there in the world, whether it's people like Yamal, you know, whether it's an actor, a musician, you know, that's learnt from themselves. And I think that's really important. Value yourselves and remember that I think the saddest thing is when somebody wastes 2 hours swiping up. It's just, I don't know what you get from that. And I do it sometimes because it feeds you what you're interested in as well. It keeps you locked in. So, you know, I get lots of wrestling clips and I'll watch them for about half an hour and I'll go, oh, it's Shawn Michaels Undertaker for 2 minutes. Oh, and I'll be like, and then I'll go, I've just lost 40 minutes. Just watch the United Stand. You'll learn a lot more. No, I think some people use the United Stand to go to sleep too, which I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing. Somebody said that to me a couple of weeks ago. They said, they said, I love what you do. I listen to you when I go to sleep. And I thought, where's this going to go next? Because, like, I've gone to sleep to stuff in the past, and it's... No, and he went, no, not like that. It was like, you know, I just like, you know, it's a long show at 8 o'clock, and after the first half an hour or so, I just like to, you know, I fall asleep. It's quite relaxing. I was like, okay, I can live with that. As long as you don't fall asleep within the first 30 seconds, I can live with that. Joel says, I can actually play the clarinet. Love it. I want to hear more of these stories. I want to know for tomorrow night in the after show. I want you to come on and tell me what you've learnt. What's your skill? There's your homework. And if you haven't learnt something, let's all learn something new. I mean, for me, I'm multi-talented, so it's going to be very difficult for me to think of something new to learn. But no, I'm taking the piss. No, I actually want to learn a language. That's something I want to do. And I don't believe in waiting till 2026. If you start today, you get 4.5 months on all the idiots who do it on January the 1st and give it up. I'd love to play the piano. Love to play the piano. I'd like to learn Spanish as well. Yeah, I think that's the one I would go for. I'll tell you what as well. This is right. We went to Centre Parks last Christmas. Seb says, I want to learn to ride a bike because I didn't like having stabilisers. And I said, mate, I could really rip the piss out of you because I could ride a bike at 3. You know, you're going to be 8 next year and you can't ride. You need bloody stabiliser. You'd be bullied if you lived in the 80s. Kids, but then I thought to myself, kids aren't playing on the road now with their mates on their BMX. What do kids need a bike for now? I never see, if I walk down to like the pub or something like that, I don't see kids on bikes. They're not on bikes. What do you need to learn? Now, look, I just said learn the piano, etc. Great. Do you actually need to learn to ride a bike anymore? There's a question for you. Do you need to learn to ride a bike anymore? If you want to win at the Olympics, yes. But it's not actually an essential skill that it was when I was a kid. If you didn't ride a bike, you got bullied. Do you need to ride a bike anymore? I don't. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not blaming it on AI, but do you need to ride a bike anymore? Martin says if you want to go robbing phones. Okay. Swami says I think the big issue is how we've become digitized. I've just realized we've probably done... No, it's all right. It was only 20 minutes. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you smash a like on the video and subscribe. Fantastic show as always. And thank you for being my company tonight. I hope you've enjoyed it. Stay safe. And we'll speak to you all in a bit. Take care.